Hi everyone, welcome back. In today's video we're going to be looking at 3 different ways we can design pantry labels using Design Space and our Cricut. First one I'm going to start with is what I think is possibly the easiest one, and that is just to cut out a pantry label using self-adhesive vinyl. I'm going to click on the text icon down the side and it's going to bring me up a text box, and in there I'm going to type in one of the words that I want to stick on my pantry label. So I'm going to just type in caster sugar, and then all you need to do now is measure the jar or container in which you wish to put the pantry label on, and we need to resize it. So up here we've got the size boxes and you can change the width and the height. If you don't want them to change in proportion, then all you need to do is unlock the little padlock and you can change them separately. The other way is just to take the edge of the box and to just drag it to a size that you want, and that again will alter the sizes in the size box. If you wish to change the font, we just need to go to the font box and click on the little triangle, and then it brings us up the fonts that we've got. You can use the Cricut fonts or the system fonts, any bookmark ones or recent ones, and then you just need to scroll through the fonts that you've got, pick which one you like, click on it, and that will then change the text. This is a great way of making them, and you can have any style font that you like. The choice is really yours. Obviously different fonts do make them different sizes, so just bear in mind that you may wish to change the size afterwards if you have changed the font. Once you've done that and you're happy with the font, then you are ready to click on Make It. You need to choose how you are going to cut your material, so I'm going to choose on the mat and click Confirm. As we can see there now, it's placed the caster sugar label on our mat. We are using self-adhesive vinyl, so we don't need to mirror it. We want it to cut out just as it is. Then we need to click on Continue. That will now allow us to set our base material. Again, we're using self-adhesive vinyl. I always choose the premium vinyl setting because I think that gives a perfect cut, and I always like the pressure to be more. And once you're happy with that, you just need to place the vinyl on your Cricut mat and load it into your Cricut Maker, press the flashing Cricut button, and it will start cutting. You can do them in a whole range of colours depending on what colour vinyl you have and what's going to suit your pantry. So that is probably the easiest one that I found. The next one we're going to make it as a print and cut. So we're just going to take a shape. So once we've got our shape, I'm just going to change the colour of that to be white. We're going to change the size. So I'm up here in the size box and I'm going to make it 3 inches wide and I want to make it 4 inches high. So if I click on that now, it's going to change it in proportion. So I'm going to click on the padlock, unlock that, and change the height to be 4 inches. And that's perfect. That's the size that I want. So now to put the label on the front, we're just going to click on the text icon and we're just going to type inside it. So for this one, I'm just going to type in cocoa powder. Obviously now that looks really big. Again, we can change the font. So we'll pop up here and we'll change the font. We want something a lot smaller. That one will do. And then we can just shrink it down. If you want to, you can highlight it all and you can split it so it is on 2 separate lines. And if you don't feel like the text is in portion, then we can go up here and we can go to the line space and we can reduce the space between the 2 words if you think the gap is too large. And then once you've done that for a while, we can then enlarge it so it fits better inside our label, and you can just play about with that. That's another one that I think is nice and easy to do, gives you a nice clear label. And again, we can just highlight both, and if you want to align them, you can align it to the center and that will put the words exactly in the center for you. So that's another great fun way to do it. So in order now to print that out, we would have to select both layers and we will now flatten, because as we can see now, at the moment it's a cut file and we don't want it to just be a cut file. So once you click on flatten, you can see here it says flatten and it says now print then cut. So if we was to hide this one and now click on make it, it's going to print out the words in the center and then it's going to cut a box around the edge. And that's, again, for this you could fill the sheet up. If you've got multiple containers that you wish to put labels on, you can fill your sheet and maximize usage of the sticker paper. Once you're happy with that and you click continue, you will see there that it's trying to send it to your printer, so you just click send to printer and that will print it out, and then you will go through the same process of setting the base materials as to which you would choose sticker paper or whichever materials you are using, and then you would put it through your Cricut and that will cut it. And the final way I like to make my pantry labels is to make them a bit more decorative. So we're going to start off with a box again. We're going to make the width 3 inches and we're going to change the height to before again, and again we're going to change it to white, and then I'm going to take another shape and I'm going to take the same box and again I'm going to make it white, and the size for that we're going to make it 2.5, and then we're going to unlock the padlock and we're going to make that 3.5, and then that is just going to fit inside. We're going to select both and I'm going to click on a line and that will center it, so we now know that they are now perfectly centered. Now I'm going to click on shapes again and I'm going to choose the line, and we're just going to spin that around so it's 90 degrees, and then I'm just going to place that across the centre, and again now I'm going to select the inner square and the line by holding down the arrow key on the keyboard and selecting them both, and I'm going to align those and I'm going to make that in the centre, and we could also see that there's a cross there. And for that now, because that is currently a score line, I'm going to change that to be a pen, because obviously I want it to draw a line across the centre. Now we need to click on text, and for this I'm going to type in plain, and I am going to do a new line, and I'm going to type in flower. I'm going to reduce the line space because that is way too big, and I am just going to change the font quickly. There, that looks perfect. And then we're just going to move that into the box and shrink it down, and we're looking for as best we can the centre, and that's perfect. Then I am going to do another one, and now in this text box we're going to change the text, and I want it to say pantry because these items are going to go in my pantry. So if the size of that is 1.9, then I'm going to make the size of this 1.5 because I want it to be quite a bit smaller and not so overpowering. So we can change this font, and again now we've changed the font, we just need to change the size back up to 1.5, and that still keeps it a little bit smaller, but there we go, that's perfect. And again, if you're not happy with the size, you can just play around with it if you want it to be smaller still, and then just position it where you want it to be. The other thing that I found with this, when we flatten it, so if I select it all, because obviously now it's got multiple features because it's got a draw line, if we flatten it now to make it a print and cut, my inner box has disappeared, and I don't want that. I want it to show an inner box, so we can click on the label and we can unflatten it. And the tip and the trick here is to choose the inner square, and instead of it being print then cut, we're going to change it to a pen, and it's going to keep the box then, and we're not going to lose it when we flatten it. So now if I select them all again and now I click on flatten, we can see that my box has remained, which is perfect. That's exactly what I want. We'll hide this one. So now if we go over to make it, again we can see now that's how it's going to cut out on our mat, and as we can see it's still retained my inner box, which is perfect. So I want it just to look that little bit extra and a little bit decorative. So that's how it's going to look once it's printed. So again, if we click on continue, it wants us to send it to the printer. So you're going to send it to your printer first. Once it's printed out, we're going to pop it on the standard green mat. We're going to load it into the Cricut, set our materials that we're using. In this case, I'm using self-adhesive sticker paper. You just need to choose the setting and the material that works best for your materials and your Cricut machine, and then click on the flashing Cricut button and start the cutting process. And that is how I make my 3 different styles of pantry labels, and I make each one depending on what style I'm after at that particular time. I really hope you found this tutorial helpful, and I will look forward to seeing you in my next video.